I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're
The
the Ghouls
Ghouls
Next
Next
Door. Talking about that spooky stuff.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's November, which means it's my birthday month. And it's all about me.
So, yeah. Gabe everything.
Yeah.
Gabe all day.
Which means
Woohoo.
I'm inviting some of my favorite people on our podcast from one of our very favorite podcasts ever, the Black Tribbles.
Woo.
And so you've already heard a few, and now we're giving you a new one. We're going to give you a cool topic, and we're inviting Erik, the Master Tribble. Welcome.
Hello. Happy to be here. Hello.
Happy you're here.
I am happy and sipping on more happiness.
Woo!
Excellent.
Yeah. And well, why don't you tell us about yourself? Tell us about the Tribbles. Tell about what you do, what your story is.
I have no idea what you do know or do not know. I am the man, the myth, the legend, Master Tribble E Mac. I am a Black Tribble, so you heard. I don't know what order I am in of the Tribbles, but I am one of the Tribbles. I am one of the original Tribbles, an OT, if you will. So I am the Tribble that's about all things video and movies. If you saw us on YouTube, 90% chance I shot it and or edited it. I also do writing, I do directing, I do filmmaking, I do day jobs, I do daddy stuff, I do married stuff, and I do creative things.
He's just trying to be.
That's like the nutshell.
Yeah,
That's the 30-second pitch.
Yeah. It's just like, there's your trailer. And then you can, go to the theaters and see the full film.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so
Your
that
life.
those are the highlights. If there's anything else you need, let me know. But I assume you're either a fan of us or them or these. So,
Or
you should be
both.
somewhat familiar.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Poor Kayla.
Oh, yeah.
if you like good stuff, you should be a fan of both.
Decent. You're
Good stuff. You
decent.
like
All
content? We
decent.
got it. We have
All
content.
day.
Who don't like good stuff?
Yeah.
Right? When you
think
need
about
good
it?
stuff, what do? You go home, get some good stuff.
You get
maybe
good
mama's
stuff.
cooking. Maybe you feel a little bit better. You need good stuff in your life. We
What
don't
good
need that.
stuff.
The whole country needs good stuff right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Mm.
And thank you for creating good stuff.
No.
Aw, thanks you.
Thank you guys for creating
Hey,
this
I
stuff.
just stepped in the door, so my toe is only in the good stuff right now.
Yeah.
But
well,
I will
take
leave a whole foot in
seat.
it when I leave.
Excellent.
You wait.
You don't wipe it off at the
And it's
door.
my good foot.
You keep it on.
You have a bad foot? I'm glad you led with the good foot.
Hey,
Just
why
drag
not?
the other one behind. So we're going to talk about interesting topic because we have discussed many a times how the horror genre has many subgenres or crosses into other genres. Like we created a horror comedy.
We sure
Those
did.
are two different genres that we made one.
Quite.
Yes. And also we have discussed films previously that could be interpreted as a different genre, and we will talk about that as well. So today we're talking about suspense/thrillers versus horror, because it's my opinion, just from the gate here, that everyone likes horror movies. They just haven't found the right one yet, or the right style. So
Okay.
totally okay if people don't like gore and torture porn, which is a thing. Totally, I'll accept it. You can also not like ghosts, but maybe you like a good old murder mystery. That's a horror film. It's horrible.
Yeah, that can scare you.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it scares you, you can consider it a horror film.
Yeah. If it makes you
Yeah.
feel uneasy, anxious, kind of
Any of
like
those things.
Yeah. It's the intent.
thrilled.
Yeah.
Quite.
Yeah.
The intent to scare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, some people don't find ghosts scary. Some people don't find The Exorcist scary.
True. Because if a ghost is just a displaced soul or a spirit, that means you were quote unquote human at one point in time. So,
Yeah.
maybe
Just
somebody has a
normal.
relationship with what they would consider, disembodied beings. Therefore, they are not frightened by such a thing.
Yeah.
I think frightening is definitely a personal experience. It's like something tailored to every person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
But-
can fear really anything.
True.
Just let your mind go.
But everybody's not afraid of everything, generally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody has a thing.
Lots of people go outside.
Yeah.
True,
And
true.
they just do it.
And there are some that don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
So I know
Agoraphobia.
it's
Layers.
just, it's different because people are as varying as movies,
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so back when Netflix was exclusively just DVDs, I would remember that there was always like like almost the same type of movies every time that would come to like our house. So it would be like one that was just like a stupid comedy, that was like for my uncle and my little brother. That was just like, just ones that they would like a Will Ferrell or something, right? Then there was always like a suspense thriller, which was like some cop or detective, a serial killer of some sort for my aunt, and then there'd be a horror movie for me. Like that was always like our rotation. But I would always watch. I rarely watched like the comedy or the big office box office like hits. Like I still haven't seen Avatar, like Blue People Avatar.
Okay.
I've heard it, and I do know that it is in fact Pocahontas with blue people. I've heard it a million times because they had surround sound.
Yeah.
They would play it over and over again. But I've never seen it, so I'd always skip those ones. But I would always just sit there and watch any of the thrillers, which might have been like things like that. And watching Law and Order probably is the start of my true crime obsession.
Okay.
So I have a love and admiration for thrillers and suspense, in that they mimic reality in a way that I find, interesting when it comes to horror. Because like so many times people jump right to like ghosts and like the supernatural, or a really hokey serial killer or murderer like Jason or Freddy or Mike Myers. He's
Right.
known as
Yeah. I'm doing
walking
that
real
thing.
slow, versus something like the Zodiac, who's real.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of thrillers, and my uncle, who's afraid of horror films, would also not watch the thrillers either. So it's one.
The same bracket
one
is
over here.
scary.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Why you gotta watch stuff that's so sad?" And I was like, "The world's sad, Uncle.
Open your eyes.
Get with
Don't you
it."
realize
Yeah, we're
the
all
hope
sad.
hasn't been drained from you yet?
Do you
I'm
not go
younger and I'm
outside?
more aware of it. Why?
No
That was my whole
future.
life.
No
Sarah Connor.
future.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Don't you know?
Yeah. So you do watch Terminator, and you're gonna
No,
you
it's my
watch
favorite
Alien
movie
versus Predator, but
from
you
the
can't.
start of my youth until now.
And
Terminator
honestly,
2
I
is my
think
favorite thing.
Terminator has a whole horror aspect to
Yes.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It definitely
Yes.
does.
You're
It's
saying
science
true
fiction
words.
and it is action, but it definitely has a whole horror undertone to it. I think what its undertone is like the Terminator's motivation.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what it is. The motivation. That's the
And that
horror
man doomed
part
itself, man.
of Terminator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's that future that we're like just running to, like full speed on this like train. That's
right, like
the horror
yay,
aspect.
technology. Like let's
Yeah.
make bigger, better machines. Let's make them smarter till they're smarter than us. Oh
Woo!
wait, fuck, that was a bad idea
Yeah.
because now it's trying to kill us because it believes it's smarter than us, and it is because it's so winning, and we're all dying.
Yeah, and it's also
What do
that
we do now?
mentality. It's like you're not the top of the food chain anymore. It's the thing we talked about through horror anime. The
Oh,
entire
yeah.
theme that just kept overlapping is that we are going to die. There's a thing now that is more powerful than us. We are doomed, whatever. Like, that's what's happening. I'm still
Yeah.
convinced. I watched it when I was 5. I was severely traumatized. I thought that's how we were all going to die. I still kind of believe that.
Yeah.
Robots
that's why
are
you're
coming.
death by robots, Tribble.
We're all going to die. They're going to outpower us. I'm going to be an idiot and think they have sentience and like feel bad for them and want them to have equal rights because that's who I am.
Yeah, that sounds
And
right.
then we all die. So
yeah, thanks.
I agree, but yes, don't give them equal rights ever. They should not.
No.
So
They have
I see that
feelings.
coming. No, they
What
don't.
makes a
I will have a
person?
They
robot
have
husband.
like
You
programming
don't
to
know.
think and mimic feelings, but
But aren't we that?
they're not people.
aren't we all?
just
We don't
programmed?
know what we are.
I could be a
We have
Cylon.
no
you
clue.
don't know.
None of us know.
Exactly.
None of
So
us
who
know
I
are
who
have
we
we
to
are.
say?
infinite lives. I was here before. There was nuclear wasteland. That's why I like Fallout, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I'm saying is robots are scary.
That's more than likely true. However,
I went on
Yeah.
a long
we don't know.
Yeah.
sidebar, but it's real.
But I believe you.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Terminator 2 is definitely horror. I feel very strongly about that. I feel like any sort of sci-fi or like
Yeah, I saw that in the theater
Sci-fi horror.
whenever it came out. And if it was like 93-ish, I was probably like 11 or 12. And like my aunt took me to see that. Like I don't know if I was ready. It was awesome.
I was 5, so I'm on the
But-
same.
Yeah,
You know what I
practically
mean?
the
Like
same
I definitely
person.
saw the like in theater and I was like, this is like my mom said you could take me to see this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should
But apparently yes.
she gave you the okay.
No, I had
Do you have
the
the
fun,
signed
like,
form.
my parents aren't married things. They're like, Dad lets me watch the rated R movies and this.
Oh, and then was mom trying to like keep up or mom was like, oh my God, that bastard.
feel like
teased you.
I don't think she cared too much either. She was probably just mad because then I like didn't sleep at all because I saw like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
Freddy
goodness, she had to
Krueger
deal
movies and
with
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
because then I was just
He
like
does that,
The
that
anxious.
drops
Terminator's
him-
not
drops
coming
her
for
off.
you.
I was
Time
anxious
travel
as
isn't real.
anything.
Not yet.
I was just
But
like,
if it will
Mom,
be, then I guess it already is.
Yeah.
Mom, the computer knows
technically.
it's reading
Right.
your mind. Like they're going to take over. The car has a mind. They're gonna put the thing in it, and now it's driving itself, and it's gonna kill us. Like that's where it was.
I mean,
Yeah.
cars have computers, and they're starting to drive themselves.
Terminator 3.
But
they
I don't
said
think
that
they
it's a
can like
thing.
decide to kill humans yet.
All I'm saying is Terminator 3. said
Like
it was a thing.
I think we do need like 3 laws. Like if we had 3 laws, we would be cool.
Yeah.
3 laws of robotics.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would work.
Like you don't.
I also
They
consider the
still
Matrix
find their way
horror
around.
because then it questions reality. And
That
reality
is
isn't real.
horrifying.
That's
At
what
the
I'm
end when
saying.
you see them aliens,
maybe
how
we're
are
all
you
in
gonna
there.
say?
You don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Anything that can end your existence, yes, is horrifying.
Yeah, it's
I
like-
think that counts.
Yeah.
That is a
So
safe bet.
suspense.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
yeah, it's
saying.
like okay, it's like robots, zombies. Like it's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing.
Either way, we're getting
It's
destroyed.
a soulless creature that's taken over us. Why is one a horror and the other is like this is sci-fi? Like you can be both
I think
worlds.
so, yes.
You can be both.
Also,
But I think that's also
Kidnapping
where like
movies.
more beauty comes in, where you start to find more subgenres within your genre or culture or preferred, medium of whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you find those new avenues of dramedy and new whatevers,
Yeah. Well, because it allows you to expand. So, everyone has probably listened to our audio drama, and the people that were on there are part of an improv show, and it's not yet rated. So what happens is someone comes up and they spin the wheel, and it picks a genre for them. Well, we went for their like Halloween edition, so it was an improvised horror movie, but they picked a subgenre. So you spin the wheel. On the genre board was romantic comedy. And the idea was like if you got that, then you spin again, so you get another genre on top of that. So it's this idea of like there's a romantic comedy happening inside, like a haunting,
Gotcha.
or like a poltergeist film, or
Okay.
like a slasher. So it's like you get so much more dimension and so much more to play with when you're following rules from
I already
more
like
than
it.
one.
Like I'm already looking at layers.
was
I'm
pretty
looking at
great.
so many different ways that can be interpreted.
Right? Yeah.
So yes, on board.
yeah, it's great. And ours was just a noir, but it also it has different genres. It
Within.
went somewhere, yeah.
yeah, it went a whole
It
loop
went
around.
somewhere.
Did things.
But
it was
that's the thing, though.
improvised.
You have to be able to give it its breath and then let it take life and shape and then follow it where it goes. You can't be afraid to follow your art where it wants to go. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
had an idea in mind when you formulated it, but once you give it life, you have to be able to let it go and then follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it knows what it wants to do.
Exactly.
That's
Even
what
if
I'm
you
saying.
don't.
It's sentience.
Exactly. It's aware. It's self-aware.
Oh,
The thing you
no.
made
It
is
has become
self-aware
Artificial.
and is looking at you create
Life
it,
finds a way.
judging you.
Yeah, like you couldn't did this better.
Life finds a way.
Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Here facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
So we're talking about thrillers and horror movies, and
Mhm.
whether or not they are part of the same family.
They are.
If one of
What?
them is a black sheep, or like the kid that doesn't get any attention, which is horror, and then you got thriller, which is your book nerd, your like scholastic kid with his AB honor roll, and then you got your weird kid in the corner that's like putting his food all together, like mixing it.
All in one,
Yeah.
all in his milkshake,
Yeah,
and then drinking it down
exactly. That's your
with a
horror
spoon.
kid. The other one's like, I'm doing the same thing. I came from the same place, but people like me more, and I don't know.
Right. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
we're
I don't
twins,
know how,
but
but I'm
who
more
knows?
acceptable.
Exactly.
I taste better.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's a thriller versus a horror. movie.
exactly. In summation, so I was like, clearly the answer is yes, they do overlap, right? The Merriam-Webster dictionary for horror definition says that it's something that's painful and intense with fear, dread, or dismay, right? But the Wikipedia horror film definition, because it's not like a horror film, it's just horror, Says it's a film that seeks to elicit fear, initially inspired by literature from authors like Edgar Allan Poe,
OG Poe.
Bram Stoker, and Mary Shelley. Horror has existed as a film genre for more than a century. The macabre and the supernatural are frequent themes, but horror may also overlap with the fantasy, supernatural fiction, and thriller genres.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's in there. It
Yeah.
says it for us.
Wikipedia said it, which means
Boom.
it's
So we can end this episode right here.
Yeah.
yeah, it's done. All right, so we're gonna
Decisions.
leave, and then you guys figure it out what you want to
Cool.
figure out.
Watch 7. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, done. Well, like I was thinking because I looked up like it was like top 30 horror films or not horror, thriller films. I was
A
looking.
lot of them were horror.
Yeah, I was
did the
looking and
same
I was
exact
like,
thing.
we've
Sixth Sense
covered
was on
some of
there. I was
these.
like, nah, that's horror.
Yeah.
You're wrong, world.
Sixth
I think
Sense,
there's not overlap.
The Witch,
Others.
The Others, The Ring was even on one of them.
So what kind of a line do they draw between thriller and suspense? Because I think they're about the same. Judging
Yeah.
from their list and my taste, I think that's about the same.
yeah, I think it's like, yeah, because they're both like getting a certain reaction out of you, both suspense
True.
and thriller. It's like what I saw was a good kind of distinction between a horror and a film. Although a lot of
Suspense
these,
thriller.
yeah, was like a lot of the arguments. I was like, I don't know. I think I could argue against it, but one of them was like that thrillers are more about like the chase, and then like horror tends to be more about like the events, like those things. But even then,
I don't know.
if I believe that either.
I would kind of frame it like this. This is the way I see it. So you have horror, and I consider horror more gore. So when you can see a lot of blood, when you see body parts, where people get torn apart, that's horror. That's more gore. Suspense is more scary because of what you don't see.
Like
You know
the
what I
mental
mean?
end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more kind of making you afraid with storytelling, with your more your imagination versus what you see. That's kind of how I see the difference in horror. So with horror and gore, you see the blood, the body parts. It's like Saw.
Yeah.
But then when you have suspense or something that's more psychological, it's everything you don't see that's messing with your head. Your own imagination puts the gore in there for you. And your imagination is so much more vivid than anything any film or production could show you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why like suspense and thriller is more scary for me. You know what I mean? I like horror. I enjoy it, but horror doesn't scare me. Suspense and thrills can scare me though. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of like what Kat had said before with short horror films, where she feels like revealing the monster sometimes like takes away from all of that suspense and
Yeah, I think it makes it cheap and it
tension.
makes me angry.
Yeah, the tension that was brought
They
up.
show a stupid looking thing.
Yeah, but I'm
It's
even
like-
thinking like
It would have been better if you didn't.
because there's ghost films, right, and that's horror. So it's not gory. It's more psychological, especially ones that play with this idea of like, is it in your head or is this real? So like we're watching the Haunting of Hill House, which is kind of works on that. That creator has also made Oculus, which definitely plays with that whole
Oculus.
like,
I
are
forgot about
you
that movie.
crazy?
I remember Oculus. I like the trailers more than I like the movie.
Yeah. Well, even like I think there are horror films that really play into suspense as well, because you have something like The Others, which plays into suspense.
It's
in
a lot
that,
about like what you can't see. There's that big twist at the end, and
Mhm.
it's a lot of
It
build up.
Follows has some scary parts to it, like with the actual like when people are murdered, yeah. But the scariest parts of it follows.
It's the lead up.
is-
It's a slow
It's
lead
the
up.
person walking towards you really slow. And like knowing that they're always going to come find you. But that's a horror movie. And I'll fight anyone who tries to tell me it's not horrifying.
The way I look at it is generally I see thriller and like suspense movies as things that like more likely than not could happen in real life, and that's what makes them scary. Like I don't know if anyone else saw Ransom when they were younger.
Yes, I love it. Mel Gibson joint?
Yes.
Okay.
That was like
That was a horror for you?
Yes, because that kidnapping is very real for children as a fear. And I definitely thought that was like the scariest thing. I was terrified forever, just like thinking I was going to get kidnapped at any time.
So
Yeah.
ransom was the
Speed-
scariest thing for you?
Speed scared me. The movie where the bus gets taken
Yeah,
over.
Keanu Reeves.
And
I
you
know
gotta
Speed,
go real
Sandra Bullock.
fast or you're gonna die. And then there's like all these like emotional elements. I thought that was a horror movie, and they're like, no, it's not. I like these are things that I thought were horrifying as a child.
Okay.
And like I still kind of think like could have been a horror movie.
Okay.
They're just like the fear element is caused by something real, and that's why it's considered a thriller or suspense movie instead of like something supernatural. I mean, I'm sure that's not the exact definition.
Right,
but
right,
that's
right,
how
right,
I
right.
classified it.
Okay.
And that, like,
Okay, so
yeah.
I'm feeling that. But let me tell you how that translates for me.
Please.
Okay. So just like that, because I was thinking about what was scariest to me, right?
Mhm.
So when I think about what movies are scariest to me, I have to go back to my childhood because like nothing, scares me today. I make films, so I'm pretty much
Yeah.
not scared by things I see on screen.
Yeah, we do this podcast. We are also immune.
Right. So
Nothing.
so
Fairly
that
immune.
being the
Anymore.
case,
Hereditary
I'm more
did.
of a mind like what scared me as a child. And honestly, what I come back to is Child's Play.
Yes.
Now, the
There I am.
reason Child's Play scares me is because when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was play or imagine like my G.I. Joes are real and they can move. Just like Toy Story, they can move when I'm
consider
not
Toy
seeing
Story a
them
horror
or
movie.
aware of them or in the room. So
Yeah,
they can
nah.
do that, right? That's how I think about my toys. They play when I'm not with them.
Yeah.
And then to see Child's Play and this doll to play on its own, but then want to kill you,
Yeah.
scared me.
Yes.
They're not
but like
real.
if it's G.I. Joe
No.
or a Ninja Turtle, you just want to eat
That-
pizza
what if that
or
tries to
defeat
kill you?
Cobra.
You
You
don't
don't want to
know.
hurt me.
What
No,
if it
Chucky
does?
wants to kill people and take my body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it took something
Yeah.
that I used to play with
Chucky
and
is
made
to
it
Ninja
real,
Turtles as
but
to-
also twisted it.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Exactly.
It perverted something I used to do. I hope they aren't real now because what if they're really, serial
Yeah.
All I'm
killers and
saying,
robbers that want to
Inside
take
of my body.
All I'm saying is, if he died on top of a box of G.I. Joes and his spirit
Yeah.
went in there, you wouldn't want that to be alive either. Toy Story is terrifying. Don't watch it.
Or literally just watch Toy Soldiers.
They're all
Because the
scary.
whole point is that the G.I. Joes were bad. Yeah, I would say so. I think a big thing between thrillers and horror, because some of them have similar plots, or if you just changed the villain of a thriller from one to the other, you can very easily like blur that line even more. But I think it's the intent of what you're trying to get away with. So it's like a
the
horror.
intent, and I think like visually, horror is about what they do show you, and suspense is about what they don't show you. You know what I mean? Because they just leave it to your own imagination or your own inference.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so much more vivid than anything you can see on screen. Like your imagination, like you're your own worst enemy. So whatever it is you imagine is definitely worse than anything a visual effects supervisor can show you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I just think it's a horror tactic. It's a different way to show that. It's a different way to use those things. And that's why it's like there's like jump scares, but there's also like the absence of jump scares in something that you expect to be a jump scare, which is scarier than the actual jump scare. Like when someone like goes in the bathroom, they open the mirror and they close it and you're like, ugh! And then they turn and there's something, right? Or being able to watch something and seeing like the subtle differences and weirdness that's happening behind them that's not like overt in your face. But it's definitely like this intent to like, do we want to just thrill our viewers? Do we want them on the edge of their seat, or do we want them cowering like underneath a cover?
I think it's a balance. Like I think everybody knows their audience and they know. I mean, if you do this thing well, because we've all seen films that were not done well or we had a lot of notes for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think what I'm thinking of is Insidious, The Last Key.
Yep.
There were a lot of opportunities where you were waiting for jump scares, but they didn't play on every one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, they were kind of like picking their moments. I like the Insidious franchise just because like
Yeah.
from the door, they gave me something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was
Like the
expecting like something
dream
that was
walking.
like typical horror, and it was like astral projection, kind of
Yeah.
a pseudoscience kind of a thing. So like right from there, they had me because like it wasn't what I was expecting. So they had me from that, you know what I mean? And then they still made it scary because it was about spirits that kind of could take your body if you don't get back to it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like I kind of like went on its own journey and followed it. So like even though it wasn't, you know, ghosts or, you know, hell or demons, it was what I wasn't expecting. So it shocked me and it was something I was interested in. So it pulled me in.
Yeah. I sense a trend in that you're afraid of possession.
I don't know if I say I'm afraid of possession.
You just like want your body to be yours. Cool.
You don't want anybody else in here.
I don't know. Like I'm comfortable sharing my body. Like let me not say that. Don't put me in a box. Okay, right. With consent, I will share my body. But you know, I think what scares me is more like the absence of. You know what I mean? So like when I say like your imagination is worse than anything they can show you, like when I thought about the scariest things after Freddy, I'm thinking about like Alien. That scared me. It's real slow pace,
Sure it is.
real dark. You don't see the alien a lot, but you know it's somewhere there. Yeah. That scared me. Sphere was another one. Down under the water. It's dark. And honestly, the antagonist of Sphere is human consciousness, like your own demons, your own negative thoughts that creep into every thought you have. That's the real antagonist of Sphere. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that was like a deep movie for me. And like The Abyss. You know what I mean? Things like that are like, it's scary because like we don't know what's going on. We're trying to figure it out. We're in this dark, quiet place and we're just people are dying or this is happening. We can't figure it out and it's not normal. And we have to discover what's going on. Like I think it's kind of like now that I'm speaking it out, it kind of sounds like the same reason I want to do an escape room. Like that sounds like fun to me and figure out how to get out of this room before XYZ happens, whatever the scenario is. But like, like those are the things that scare me the most. You know, it's psychological. Puzzles. We have to think our way out. And why isn't this normal? Because ABC happened, but it equals 3 or 4 or something that's not normal on our, you know, plane of existence. And we have to figure out why or what or how.
Well, that was one of the arguments in like a post I read on like Reddit, essentially, was like that thrillers tend to exist in our world, like with the basic rules that we follow. Like, and there's arguments to that too, because like a lot of thrillers have like serial killers, which people would find that to be kind of out of the norm and kind of existing outside of outside of our
not everyone, but there are a lot of serial killers in the U.S.
Yes, and everyone has the capacity to murder. Everyone knows that. But with horror films, it's that there are things happening outside of the realm of what we usually are expecting and what we can control, which gives us a whole new aspect to be afraid of, because like logic doesn't help you through it.
But see, I don't know. I kind of find that as a cop-out. Like, I find that as, like, why, let's just call them the Holy Trinity, Freddy, Jason, and Michael, are, like, I don't want to say whack, but not scary to me. You know what I mean?
I would agree.
Because they have, like, a mystical aspect that's unexplained. But, so it's why they don't die, but it doesn't tell you why they don't die. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, I kind of find out like a cop-out. So I don't like that as much as a plot theme in my movies.
Well, yeah, but that's what they're saying the difference between a thriller and a horror is. And, like people think thrillers are more realistic. So, like, if you think of The Strangers, right, that's a thriller. You have two people who are being home invaded. And a lot of the time, you're not even really seeing the other people. Like, it's just, like, hints that they were there, or just knowing that they're around. Well, if you took the antagonists of The Strangers and you made The Strangers ghosts, is it now a horror movie even though we're still going through the same thing? Like, we're still getting just hints that there's something else here?
I feel like it does. Yeah, like, I don't know. When it feels like it's just like random like that, I feel like it's less good or less fulfilling to watch.
Because you don't got motive. You don't have anything to
think
justify.
it's more terrifying.
Like
it's
the
scarier
Hitcher.
for my
I think
reason.
The Hitcher was more one of those films. I want to say like with
reason.
Sean Bean and a couple other people or whatever.
But that's what makes it
scary. And he was just a crazy person that was terrorizing this couple that was on a road trip. He didn't have a reason, a motivation. And they didn't give you any backstory about him. Maybe he was crazy or this or that. And he was just the person fucking with them and terrorizing them. Like, that was like unfulfilling for me because, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
But then you have something like Freddy, and you have a backstory for him. You have, like, he was a child molester who was burned alive by the parents of these kids.
And fathered by, like, 1,000 screaming maniacs? So,
yeah, his mom was, like, in the insane asylum. As a nurse
and, like,
yeah,
raped by, like,
exactly.
So, yeah, like,
but he has a motive.
And out of, quote-unquote, the Holy
weird.
Trinity, his story makes the most sense.
Yes.
And I think he's the only one, I don't know the only one, the only one, he works the best.
Yeah.
Like, he has, like, clear motivations. I looked up earlier today, I think it's, like, 8 elements of a horror story. And I think that's what's lacking from, like, Jason and Michael Myers, like, motivation.
Yeah.
Like, what makes your antagonist or your killer want to kill or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Freddy, on top of his, like, you know, charisma.
Yes.
That's what puts him so far
His
ahead of
witchiness.
everybody else. But yeah, absolutely. Like, out of those 3, like, Freddy is definitely the most thought out character and just the best. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he has a spiritual aspect to it, but it makes sense because he was already killed. And you know what I mean? Now he can only affect you in your dreams.
Jason was also already killed. And if you're talking about Friday the 13th, the first one, that one makes the most sense because it's his mom going around killing these skanky teenagers who let her son die. She's the one who makes the most sense if we're going to go with this Holy Trinity of these films.
Exactly.
Or what about Scream? That's a motive. I mean, it's a terrible motive, but it's kind of realistic in my opinion in that, like, you know, her mom caused his family. Spoilers if you guys haven't watched Scream.
Right, 20 years after the fact.
What are you doing?
Her mom, Sydney's mom, was sleeping with his dad and caused his family to be broken. And then also
murder.
Yeah, so murder because he's not well. That's a real thing that happens. It's called a serial killer. Like most of our serial killers don't have a good reason. So like we're gonna talk about 7 later, and Brad Pitt's character names off because Morgan Freeman's character is like, well, we need to figure out why. Like, he's smarter than we're saying. And Brad Pitt just like mentions like motives that other serial killers have said, which are dumb. Like, one was like, there's one that says Jodie Foster told me to do it, and that was like someone tried to assassinate a president because he claimed that Jodie Foster told him. There's my dog told me to do it, which is David Berkowitz, which is the son of Sam. Like, yeah. Crazy people exist. These are real things, and their motives sucked. So, and also, that's not really why he did it. He's just an asshole. True. But again, sorry, true crime. But here's a question. So, I was thinking about like, if the idea is like supernatural or like weird situations versus real situations. There's The Boy, which is the whole film. Have you seen The Boy?
I don't think so. No.
So The Boy is a film where a woman goes to take care of a boy for this elderly couple, and then if she finds out like immediately that the boy is gone and dead, but they have a doll that resembles him, and they want her to take care of this doll, like serious. And at first she's like whatever, and she like blows it off because she's like, I'll just get paid. But then like spooky stuff starts to happen, so then she does take it seriously, and she's taking care of this doll, right? So you have a whole film where you're like, this doll's haunted, there's some weird stuff happening, it's also scary because it's like a doll is alive possibly, and like her kind of build with it. But the big reveal and the twist, spoiler alert, is that it's actually like the boy isn't gone or dead. He actually is a grown person who is living in the walls and is causing all this supernatural stuff to happen, like supposedly. So this is a film that was marketed, and you're going through it as if it is a horror film in that like there's ghosts and bumps in the night, but really at the end it's just a crazy person who was like a little off when he was a child, potentially murdered another child, and then they locked him up in the house, and then he tormented his parents until they killed themselves. Which is just like, for me, it's like, what is this? Because I don't think that the supernatural idea is the line. Because even with Sixth Sense, people are saying that's a thriller, but there's ghosts, and it is terrifying. That film is scary.
There's all the dead people.
And it's definitely like suspenseful. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
definitely like just drop those little clues for you here and there. You know what I mean?
Such a great movie.
Yeah, Sixth Sense was definitely one of those good ones. They do just be like, oh,
Yeah.
at the end. You know what I mean? Like it was so good
Yeah.
when you finally caught that reveal because you were asking yourself so many questions during the entire film.
Yeah, you're like, why? What's
right?
happening?
You know what I mean? And I definitely think it was a great payoff, and it just like I don't know, it just added up the way he just dropped that story. But I think
sure.
that's
A little
really
twist.
what the key is to suspense. Is really about what they don't tell you. You know what I mean? What I want you to catch at the end and how much information I want you to catch and when. What are you going to get in the second act and what are you going to get at the third act and what is your big payoff at the end that will explain all the questions you didn't know you had the answers to all along. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a versus like, what are we revealing and what are we hiding? It's like suspense and thrillers are like a big magic trick. And then horror movies are just like, these are the bumps in the spooks in the night that are like coming after you. Like if you think about it, you have like a killer like Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very obviously this is a horror film. There is somewhat of a motive. He's like inbred weirdo. It's motive enough.
Right.
And cannibal.
I want to kill you and wear your face.
Yeah.
What else would I do with
He's
your
based
face?
off of a real serial killer.
How strange
Right?
to not
Here's
wanna
the
do that
thing.
all the time.
Leatherface is based off of a real serial killer, Ed Gein, right? Then you have another serial killer that was also based off of Ed Gein, which is in Silence of the Lambs. Right? But in Silence of the Lambs, that's a thriller. That's a suspense thriller. And that we're not seeing like the active murders, but we are seeing him.
I mean,
yeah.
I know you're saying it's the same. We're saying
He's
it's the same thing, so it's
that's what I'm saying. Is like they're both they're technically about very similar people. It's just in one we're getting overt gore and the stress of it is actually motivated by like our very imminent danger. It's like it's not so much as like are we going to die? It's when are we going to die? Who's dying next? And who's possibly going to make it to the end? Whereas the other one, it's like, who's doing this? And like, how do we stop it?
Yeah.
Is kind of where thrillers are coming from.
Yeah, like, especially when you talk about Silence of the Lambs, I think like it's special because you're getting a glimpse into the mind of a serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, as quote unquote, as a moviegoer, we all, let's just assume the majority of us are not serial killers.
Yeah.
Therefore, we don't know the
Probably.
mentality of somebody who is or would kill for, you know, whatever a reason is. So the
Let's
fact
just put on our
that,
thinking caps for just a
Right.
moment. Imagine a world where
We
we're
can
not
imagine.
all made of serial
we
killers.
can imagine
Gabe's
we're not a
not.
serial killer.
Probably.
You get to see a glimpse of a person that is and how they recognize one of their own. Like, it takes one to know one.
Yeah.
So through the lens of Jodie Foster, the FBI agent, we get to see the world through the eyes of a serial killer, what they want and how they view people and society and everything as a whole. So it was like dumb eerie seeing him make predictions about what Buffalo Bill wanted out of his victims. You know what I mean?
And if they wanted him, because he wanted him, you know?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he just wanted to be, I guess, a beautiful woman and have a suit of woman's skin.
Yep.
You know,
And who
spoiler
doesn't?
alert.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Everyone's
guilty of wanting to finer things in life. I'll admit it.
All right. Well, now we know he has a suit of
The lotion on its
Scary.
skin.
But I think it's just the fact that the audience has to learn to view the world or victims or anything through the eyes of the killer was just so new at the time and revolutionary that that's what made that film so big.
Yeah, and then when you take that a step further in like bringing Hannibal, which was the TV series about Hannibal Lecter, and like, you know, that world, it's incredibly body gore-ish. It's full of just gore and like profound traps, like not traps, but like the way that bodies are found reminds me very much of like Saw, but with like art and terror. But a lot
So
of
you
it
kind of like beautifully displayed corpses.
Yeah, there's like some really crazy things that are done. There's like one where a person is made into like a cello. It's
A
intense.
cello.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Like,
It's
is it
just-
horror or is it thriller?
You know what I mean? Like,
It's
but
both.
exactly. It's
Yes.
just all those things. So I think
They
like
overlap.
today, like they want to just grind it all up into one and make you shovel it all down.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
layers. We are layered things. These are layered topics.
Frankenstein is considered a horror movie, but when you really think about it, the horror that is Frankenstein is the fact that this Dr. Frankenstein created a person, like recreated a person.
Right. Like
And now, like,
in Frankenstein,
yeah.
the doctor is the monster, not the creation.
Exactly. Yes.
I
Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein is, like, honestly the protagonist in this. No one asked to be alive the first time. They didn't ask to be alive again.
No
And
one
it's-
wants to be alive.
No one wants to be alive to begin with. But also, like, that's considered a horror film. And at the time, it was terrifying. We talk about it, and it even got, like, the first trigger warning. It was like, you're going to be afraid of this. But I think in today's world, like, that book would be more considered a thriller. And that, like, you're exploring the motive and the reasons and, like, dissecting, like, why is this wrong instead of
I
just
think
trying to
so.
survive.
Because it would be less like life science and more like an alternative lifestyle individual. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like our definitions of, I guess, like if you look at 100 years ago, bringing something to life was like a novel idea.
Yeah.
And then you look at 2018, we have like, hey, zombies are a thing.
Yeah.
You want to look at what is this life form that you brought back to life and what does it want out of its new existence, because it doesn't have any previous memory of what it used to be, but it's alive now. It's made up of several different things.
Mm-hmm.
What is it and what is it going to choose to be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think like more days or nowadays, the real juicy tidbit that we're all after is like quote unquote artificial intelligence, because like Frankenstein is an artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Like you gave it a brain from something different than all of its body parts, and you want it to be quote unquote a peaceful creature and not a monster. You know what I mean? So like in like 2018, everything is about like what is this consciousness going to be?
Yeah.
Films. Yeah, films. Yeah, films. We watch some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
So we watched Seven. It is a bit of a secret in that Kat and I had not previously watched Seven all the way through.
You've
Or
never
much
seen
at
Seven
all.
before?
I'd seen pieces. I had always seen. Okay, here's what I've always seen up to Gluttony, and then I was just like, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. I'm done. I'm bored. I was just not
Okay.
about it.
But you've seen
But
it
we've
recently.
seen it now.
Yeah, we saw it
So
yesterday.
for people who have not seen it, like us, 2 days ago, Seven, which is from 1995, tells the story of David Mills, a detective who partners with the retiring William Somerset to track down a serial killer who uses the 7 deadly sins as a motif in his murders. Murders.
I saw Seven,
Yeah.
but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I saw Seven when I was like 15 on a plane going to South Korea. So it was like
Very
a
specific.
16-hour flight, and I saw like 3 movies in that stretch.
Yeah.
So I did see Seven, but not since then.
Yeah. Well.
But I do
did.
recall Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman.
Yep.
America's
So-
Grandpa.
I know the film.
Yeah.
But I definitely was intrigued by it.
So I discussed this in my torture porn gore episode with
Garbled cast.
yeah, for our garbled switchcast where we switched host. And we were talking about Saw because that's like one of the more renowned torture porn films that there are. And the thing is, people label Seven as torture porn too, but that it's a critically acclaimed torture porn. And the reason for it is when you see these bodies, like that's what they were. Like we're seeing the aftermath, sure, but we're like it's like when you see honestly, just seeing what happened to Lust, which essentially was that a man was wearing a knife dildo and like murdered her that way. Just hearing him tell you about it, and then having seen one, just like a glimpse of the murder scene, and then seeing the picture of the tool in which he did this, like that is torture in itself. But we didn't see it overtly the way we would have seen it in something like Saw or a film. Probably, like, you probably wouldn't see something like that unless it was foreign.
Yeah,
Like
that
foreign
scene very
films can
much
go a little
upset me.
farther
True.
than
I was like,
than
oh,
American.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
I literally even asked you. I was like, wait a minute.
Did that just happen?
Are you telling me?
Or I would say I think the scariest thing in that film was Sloth. Seeing him and then he moves
He's alive.
because he was alive.
I mean, like, you're absolutely right, but at the same time, I think it was kind of pushing the boundaries at the time.
oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because, like, if you look at things of, you know, today versus like 20 or 30 years ago, there are things that are on like the Jeffersons or Sanford and Son that could not be on TV today.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really think that in 1995, you said
Yeah.
it was, 7 really kind of started pushing those boundaries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Saw didn't come out till like 2004. So Saw was very gory. Like, it's definitely torture porn.
Yes.
So you'll see, like, you know, dismembered limbs or entrails and buckets. And when I say buckets, I mean buckets of blood
Yep.
when it comes to Saw, the Saw franchise. But yeah, when you talk about 95, you're definitely just getting into that kind of a realm. That's like that Terminator kind of an era when stuff was transitioning into something, I guess, like, that was more visceral. And, you know, like, definitely more buckets of blood. And when they translate it into film for, you know, for culture. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think what the one thing that I took from the difference between in thinking about the difference between Saw and Seven is that they have a lot of similarities. You have a serial killer that's using, like, that's one punishing people for something that they've seen, and they're like, you are deserving of punishment, and we are the redemption, right? Also, there's kind of like this element of like, you're doing this to yourself. Or
Yeah.
he's like forcing other people to do it. Like, he's indirectly killing people in some ways. But what I see is that thrillers are just horror movies that critics like because they're not in your face. They are the films that are like, because horror movies don't get the awards and the recognition that they oughta. But when you have thrillers, it's like, that's horror. It's a brand of horror, but that's the award-winning horror.
I don't know. See, this is what I think. I feel like to be a quote-unquote award-winning movie, you cannot be too far into any genre but drama. You know what I mean? Like, people don't consider you as serious art unless you're dramatic, a tearjerker, something quote-unquote thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And just those, like, 3 things. You know what I mean? If you're a horror film, but you have heart, or if you're a comedy film, but you have a moral, like, you never get the kind of acclaim or, you know, respect that a quote-unquote art piece or a drama film or something independent has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there will never be a comedy that wins an Academy Award. You know what I mean? There has to be a drama, something that's like, you know, socially conscious, or, you know, a higher calling, I want to call it. But if you're comedy, you're not good enough for, like, an Academy Award. You know, horror is on that same level. If you're a horror, you're not good enough for this, that, and the third. You have to be thought-provoking and a social, you know, whatever, to be an award-winning, or to be qualified to be award-winning. And then you can be a serious film. If you're horror or comedy or a rom-com, you're not as good as an art piece or something like that. I just feel like that's how the award, you know, scene is.
Seven was voted the 8th scariest film of all time by Entertainment Weekly. Like, what's happening here? Like, yeah, I guess there's scary aspects to it, sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, how?
It is scary in that, like,
Someone's killing
seeing,
people.
yeah, and then
yeah,
also
like
it's
anything
uncomfortable
you have a
and
serial
disturbing.
killer, that is scary because of the randomness. Anybody can be touched by this killer. Like the DC sniper. Anybody could have been hit by that. Anybody walking across the street. Anybody downtown. Anybody could have been hit by this sniper. Like, that was a scary thing. You know what I mean? You didn't know where or when it was going to happen, but it was definitely real, and that's all you knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's terrifying. But 7, not so much.
I think the scary parts of it is the circumstance, and like that there is this killer that's doing this, and again punishing you for things
Living
that
your
it
life.
thinks that you should be punished for,
Yeah.
and that he thinks is
like,
holier
that's the
than
thing.
thou.
Like, and I really think it's somebody with their own personal sense of judgment that they're inflicting on, you know, their victims.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, you know, even Christians believe that God should judge. But at the same time, like, this person's like, hey, you're a whore, you're a sloth, you're a glutton. I need to exact revenge on you or kill you or punish you or teach you a lesson. Like, what gives that one person that moral superiority to say, hey, I should kill you and or teach you a lesson, and if I can't teach you a lesson, you should die because you didn't learn from what I think you should know? Like, what gives an individual that kind of a complex to think that they know so much better than anybody else, or
They
feel like they
don't.
need to punish those who don't know better?
Yeah, like Jigsaw. That's what he did. Except the difference between Jigsaw and
But see,
John Doe.
his kind of came from a place of like self-realization that I know I'm not grateful for my life. Therefore, I want others to be grateful
Exactly.
for the opportunities they have. So even that makes more sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Jigsaw, one, is weirdly enough a better person than John Doe in that he gives his victims the chance to survive. He makes them want to earn it.
Right. It'll cost
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
May cost you a little. May cost you a lot. But it'll cost
Or
you.
maybe you snap and then you're Saw too.
Yeah.
But yeah, and with John Doe, it's like, no, instead he just cuts off your pregnant wife's head just to complete his 7 times. The
the whole
scary the scary sloth makeup, like the person, it took 14 hours to make that.
What? That's
Nuts.
crazy.
Wow.
And that guy was
That's
like,
a lot of hours.
yeah, he was like
Yeah.
96 pounds when, and like the director was like looking for someone who was like 90 pounds because they were like, oh, this is scary. But they hired that guy because he was good. But then they made like a joke like, oh, you should lose weight. And then the next time he came back to say he lost 6 pounds.
Damn.
Like, I'm totally 90 pounds for you. What? Oh, that's from 7.
What's in the
Yeah.
box? Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking Seinfeld.
No, that's the whole big
The
thing.
voice
It's
is
like,
the same.
yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah.
the
He's
same
literally
thing.
not like, what's in the box? Like, because it's his wife's head. He's
He
like,
was like,
what's in
"What's
the
in the
box? What's
Oh,
in
Okay.
there?
what's in it?
Is it my wife's head?
Oh my
That's not
god,
cool,
did you put my
man.
wife's head in the box?
You already
Do
know.
Ah,
It was
no.
like literally
Already
that's
know it.
literally the voice.
Not
It's
in
the
the
worst.
box.
I also hate Brad Pitt, but that's fine.
Ah, in the
I'm okay with
box.
that.
No, I don't like
Yeah.
him.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
All right. So if you don't like it, it's what's in the box? What's in it? And if you do like it, it's Hannibal's home cooked meals.
Okay.
It's like Meals
Food
on
for the
Wheels.
family.
Yeah. So
That
for
includes the family.
yeah. Home
Right.
home of it's food of the family. Family cooked meal. Like there's the family was cooked.
You did it.
Yeah, I'm funny. So for the whole genre, this whole idea of thrillers. So I think we're in consensus that thrillers do count as horror sometimes, and most of the time. Because
They
there's
do,
horror.
but they're also scarier than horror.
Yeah, well, if horror has the intent to elicit fear, then thrillers are horror. Horror doesn't just mean slasher, but there's different kinds of horror, and thriller is one, and thriller is scariest to you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Those.
we're in
Yeah.
agreement.
Absolutely.
Yes. So in summation, yeah, thrillers are horror films. And so now we have a whole episode, so if people want to fight us, we'll just direct them right here.
We got proof.
Right. Thrillers
It's in that
slash
box.
suspense.
Yes.
In the
And
Ours
honestly, that's
box.
scarier
Horror.
than blood and gore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We all know that we're not serial killers.
Yes.
We're putting on that
We are not that.
idea.
Right
Yes.
now, tonight.
We're not
Yeah.
serial killers.
We took a break.
So, you guys, how do you feel about thrillers? Is it what's in the box? Or is it Hannibal's home cooked meals?
Hannibal's home cooked meals.
Hannibal's home cooked meals also.
Oh, yum, yum, yum.
Yes. If you're a home cook of the
Yep.
thriller, I will take that.
Mm.
Yeah, you want a home yeah. You want to cook me a nice meal of foot.
Please.
Yeah. Okay, what about the film 7?
Ugh, what's in the box?
What's in the box? You
I
gotta say it
like
right.
the
What's in the
ending.
box?
Yeah. I think we're too late to the craze. Like, it's just put up on such a high pedestal, and like I
Yeah.
Is it?
watched it. It definitely
People
is.
are
Like,
like,
people
"Oh my God,
talk about
7."
it
I've
like
only seen it that time on the plane.
on the plane.
And maybe pieces since.
Mm-hmm.
I've never sat down and watched 7 again.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like Along Came a
It was
Spider. I'm
alright.
like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch this.
Which
Yeah.
Which
It's
is like
alright.
one of those you'll be like, fuck, yeah, watch Along Came a Spider.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it was like, for me, it was a lot of nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a police procedural, and it felt like there's just splashes of the horror in there, where it was like, here's a grotesque body every like 20 minutes, and it was a very long film, and the ending felt very anticlimactic.
yeah.
And I think we're just kind of desensitized. Like, I can totally see that maybe for like that time period in 95
Mhm.
of people being like, whoa,
Yeah.
he
Ooh,
did
whole
what?
time.
He murdered her? And it's like, okay, but I Saw the Devil, which is a Korean horror film, which is terrifying, and that it does not stop. Like, in the way that we're like slashers go too far with gore. No, Korean horror films do not have the same restrictions that American horror films do. And that's like a whole topic on itself. But that to me is like, that's really scary. And this just felt like it was dabbling in the scary.
Tipping a toe.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
eh.
It's in the box.
What is in there?
What's in the
Someone tell me what's inside.
box?
Can you just tell me, Morgan, what's in it? He's
Oh
like
my
throwing a
God.
tantrum.
I hate Brad
And
Pitt.
then you got, yeah, you
I
got
don't know. You ain't like him in like Fight Club.
He's fine. I'm not a big fan of him. in
Edward
general.
Norton's. What's the point of that film? I
Tripping.
my whole thing is like, I really wish that Morgan Freeman's character was just like, dog, yeah, your wife's head's in the box. Listen,
I just want you to know.
listen, man,
That's
we're
fine.
bros. I talked to her, we're friends, and I'm also heartbroken. You know what? Just kill him. But he's all like, he's gonna win. It's like, bro, he already won.
He murdered your wife.
He's dead. Like, listen, here's
He
the
kills
thing.
your whole wife.
Yeah, Brad and your unborn child. Brad Pitt is already dead. That's the whole thing. He's already dead. There's no not being dead anymore. So either we just have this guy go rot in prison, or we just shoot him and it's fine. That sounds much better.
Wouldn't you feel better if you shot him?
Yes.
Right?
I think
Yeah.
you would.
Yeah.
But he's like,
You
oh,
might want to.
I'm important and I believe in justice. Yeah. Man, Morgan, why don't you do us a solid? I just like, they spent way too much time in the library. And it just felt like, and I felt continuously like Brad Pitt was doing nothing. Like, I was like, what you've taught me is cops do shit.
Basically.
Like,
yes.
he the whole time he just like chases people through windows. Like, that's his only
Donuts,
job.
Coffee and shit.
Yeah, like Morgan's like, let me do research and here, let's talk about his modus operandi. And he's like,
Let me
no-
detect some shit.
Yeah, he's like, let me Sherlock
Right.
Holmes this right quick. And Brad Pitt's like, I want to punch stuff.
Durr. Right.
Let me punch it with my
Anger.
hands. Wrath, wrath,
And my
wrath,
fists.
wrath, wrath. And then Kevin Spacey's like, yeah, you're full of wrath, man. You wanna
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 kill
finish
Down the
out my
notch,
whole
bring it back.
you want to finish out my whole plan and shoot me because I'm a pervert? All right, well, thank you, Eric, for joining us. And,
Hey, it was my pleasure.
and for hashing out the truth, which is that suspense thrillers are better at some things than slashers. I'll still go to the grave for my torture porn. I think it has a purpose.
Yeah.
What has a purpose?
Torture porn / gore / slashers.
And what would you call its purpose?
To entertain and thrill you.
I don't know about thrilling.
And make
like,
your
it's
stomach
fun
hurt.
to watch, especially if it's something you've never seen before. But I don't know if it's like thrilling. It's just like, oh wow, I've
These
never
I
are
don't
seen
know.
this.
opinions.
Hostel is pretty thrilling.
These are opinions.
When they're like
I
one
don't like
trying to
Hostel. You
escape,
can go
one
to-
getting involved.
I did like Hostel.
Being that
I
is
did
peak,
like Hostel.
peak gore.
Hostel was like out of the box
Yeah.
when I saw it. I will admit.
and it
when
has
I
a
saw
purpose.
Hostel,
That's what I'm saying.
I was like, yes,
Yeah.
sir,
All you're
Eli
saying is-
Roth.
All I'm saying is
Yeah.
that suspense thrillers are in fact horror, and now there's 3 of us who can fight you. And we're
Yeah.
not
And I
serial
say it's
killer-
the best horror.
Yeah.
It's the best horror. Those are the horrors I love.
Yeah.
Suspense. Those are the horrors I love. That's my horror right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be suspense.
Excellent. So that's our 33rd episode for and our
Yay! Glad
We're
to be a
such
part
an
of it.
adult.
yeah.
When you gonna have me back?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
available.
good.
When you
We're
want me.
signing you
Every
up
day.
now. That's our 3rd of 4 tribbles that we're going to be featuring this month. So we have 1 more tribble left, and then potentially 2 more in the future, possibly a Patreon specialty. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And yeah, you're welcome anytime. You know what happens if you
Yay,
get married, Kat?
Ghouls.
They
It's
eat
not-
your kids.
Yeah, but also they could potentially kill you before you even have the kid, and then you're beheaded,
In a box.
and then you're in a box.
Yeah. Don't want to be in box.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put
So
me
don't
in a
do
box.
it.
That's rude.
So just remember, guys,
Don't
don't get married. They'll eat your kids. All right, bye.
Bye.
Later. Deuces.